for Shimon ben Penina Esther. So right about this time, a few thousand years ago, one of the most tragic events that's ever happened in our history occurred. Every year we sit on low chairs, and arguably the second most important fast of the year is Tisha B'Av, which commemorates, amongst other things, the tragedy of the Meraglim. So while that's an absolute tragedy, it's even more of a tragedy if we don't learn a lesson for us today. It seems incongruous. How did this happen? These are some of the greatest leaders of the Jewish people. HaKadosh Baruch Hu promised us in the Bris Ben Abasarim, this is your land. He's never broken the promise. The Almighty said, this is your land. We saw open miracles during the time of the Makos. We managed to survive through the desert. We saw the greatest gift in Matan Torah. How did this possibly happen? So I think it's very important for us to try and internalize this, because it's obviously germane to all of our lives. It says, I saw this in a number of different Sfarim, which I think we should take to heart. It's like this. We were told from the time we entered Eretz Yisrael that open miracles would dissipate. We enter Eretz Yisrael, and everything that could have been seen as a simon of HaKadosh Baruch Hu involved in our lives, the distraction from the Levias, the fact that we saw the grapes that 4 people had to carry, were, if you take God out of the equation, everything can cause panic. And the whole idea is our relationship, it's a shutuf, it's between us and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We do our part, but ultimately every single thing, chutz mi Yiras Shamayim, the maskana, it's up to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You take HaKadosh Baruch Hu out of our lives, and the wheels come off. In fact, the Meraglim were responding to a question that were never asked. The Meraglim were asked, how are we going to conquer this land? They were never asked, can we conquer this land? So, I heard in the name of a lot of people, but specifically a big person this week, he said like this, in terms of how this is relevant. Every single one of us, and it's actually not a good sign if this doesn't happen, in our lives, at some point come to a situation where we say, how are we going to get out of this? How are we going to get to, how is this relationship, it's inexplicable. We as mere mortals will never know how we're going to surmount this if we don't believe that things are out of our hands. We start as mere mortals doing things that can cause the kind of mistakes that happen to the Meraglim. So the answer for all of us, as we obviously don't see these open miracles, is to know that we don't run our lives, we don't run the world, and the danger of taking HaKadosh Baruch Hu out of our lives is when we start using our puny, mere mortal rationale, that these things can happen. So for us, we should remind ourselves that ego stands for edge, guard out. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu, being in our lives, loves us, can guide us, and we should always think of the Meraglim as hopefully the mistake that we won't make, and we can take the Das Torah, take the understanding that whatever happens to us is the Teva, and Be'ez Hashem, we won't need these kind of klapim and these events, and we can have only simchas and bracha.